Hi, welcome to Sober Banter. I'm Colin.
I'm Rachel, and today we have
Paul Summers Jr.
There you go. No, you're good. I just, we don't really edit a lot of the podcast, and we were just talking before saying welcome to Sober Banter, and I'm like, oh, this is good stuff. I want it on the show.
Yeah, we got started before the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get right into it. You were just saying, we were talking about AA.
And would Bill go on a podcast?
Would Bill, and let's say right now, we do not represent AA. We both are members, but we are only sharing our experience, what we've gone through. And, but we try to respect traditions and steps saved my life.
Yeah, same here. And what I was going to add to that is that, and I will add now, how's that?
Yeah. This is it.
Is that I got clean and sober through NA and worked the steps, had a sponsor, I did all the, meetings. I on your podcast, you said you did way more than 90 and 90. I was not able to do that because by the time 90 had come, I was already back in my daughter's life. And so I was not able to do that. But so fast forward last year, so 16 years of sobriety, I was like, man, I really want to know where NA got everything from. My stepdaughter is dating a guy in recovery. My biological daughter is married to a guy in recovery.
Wow.
And and it's like, and he's an AA guy. And I was like, hey, will you sponsor me? And I just thought, this is going to help him. It's going to help me. And I want to learn about AA. And so I'm reading. Oh, I wish I had it here. I don't know why I wish I had it here. It's in my living room, but the big book, right?
Oh yeah.
And I'm just going, oh my God, this guy, Bill W. Man,
oh, yeah.
he worked in, I don't even have a word, incredulously. I'll try to act like an author for a moment to get the word out. He was nonstop. I just I admire his passion, and his ability to word is obviously word things, even though it's
funny because he was actually a stockbroker.
Yeah.
So he actually really wasn't an author.
Yeah. But he knew how to motivate people.
Yeah.
And he would be on a podcast, is my thought. Because I heard you say that, I think your last podcast you guys did, I think you had pondered that question. And
Yeah.
So I agree with you.
I mean, Bill's story, I still just I love the history of AA, and I have it in my big book too, even outlined in his story. He has all 12 steps of how he worked it. Yeah. And I use that as a reference when someone's wanting to talk about the steps. I always go to Bill's story. I'm because I didn't align with it at first. I was like, okay, so he's a stockbroker. My favorite words, I have arrived. And that is how I felt when I first started drinking and I was in the high-end service. I was like, I have arrived. This is before the stock market crash. He is living large. He's going to dinners. He's going to parties. And this is before the alcoholism really kicks in for him. He kind of talks about the build. And then what happens, lose the money, still going to the bar, still wanting that lifestyle, but can't get it. And, he's pretty much this is where he starts going to the treatment centers. And that would be where Dr. Silkworth, who was like, you're incurable.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until his friend, Ebby Thatcher, came over and said, I got sober. And he didn't think he was going to stay sober. And anyways, the carrying the message to him, it really worked because he knew Ebby before sobriety. And he's like, if that guy can get clean and be happy, there's got to be a shot for me. And that's why so many people know us, and they still are. I mean, when I first got sober, people said, you'll fall off eventually. You won't last. You are the type of drinker that they couldn't ever see me not drinking long term. And so that's why I share a lot. People are not happy all the time when you get sober.
rooting for, while at the same time having that presumption it ain't gonna last. He's gonna go back to being poly. That's my family. Still to this day, someday he's gonna be that jerk, guy that shows up late, only thinks about himself. Does only for him. And that's painful for me. Like I had to actually distance myself from a lot of my family because like they still put me in that that box. They still categorize me that way. And that's, eventually I had to say, well, I can either like spend time with them and be in pain or be away from them and be in pain. One is protecting me and the other's like walking into sabotage. So I'm not going to sabotage myself.
I think our first year we had to build.
We had a lot of boundaries.
We had a lot because.
Yeah, that's good.
Only my mom is sober, and she's the one who sent us to, go to AA when I was. She waited for the perfect opportunity to say, "Are you willing to do anything?" And I said yes, because I wanted to take my own life. I said I'd only called her,
same,
because she's sober and it was nighttime. And I wanted to ensure Evan would be okay. And I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm done. I vividly remember being in our hallway in our house. And I just had like a moment of clarity of I can't live like this anymore. And I couldn't change anything. I tried so many times to moderate. I mean, we were at each other's throats by the end.
Well, and I was also thinking another thing that was kind of difficult. It doesn't happen so much anymore, but my mom's partner has got kind of early dementia. So that first year, she was always asking, "Oh, do you want a beer or do you want a wine?" Forgetting that we were sober.
Yeah, wow.
Now she stopped asking, so I think that one's sunken in. But
yeah, my uncle. So my uncle, he was the person that I called.
Was he sober?
His sober date. He was an AA guy. April 1st, 1970, he died sober. I mean, he was in his late 80s. So he lived like, he was the guy that we all admired. He wasn't the guy we admired when he was drinking, Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I still remember him being drunk at Christmas and then all these years sober. And he was the guy I called, because same thing. I was worried about my daughter. My daughter was 3 at the time. And I just, hey, I don't know what to do. And he's like, "Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired?" And I said, "Yeah,
yes,
and just like, how does somebody know what's going on?" Say that again.
You can't if my mom would have pushed it, you need to go. She waited till, "Are you tired? Are you willing to do anything?" And when I said yes, she said, "Cool, go to a meeting."
Do that. And just one of the blessings of recovery was I think I had about 4 years. And at this point, I'm a sole custodial father. It's just me and my daughter. Her mom, an addict, to this day, never strung together enough clean time to really be in our daughter's life. Unfortunately for her, she missed that, opportunity to parent. And
so did my dad. So
yeah. And I took my daughter. I had a van that was falling apart, a minivan, a soccer dad van, and I didn't have the money. I didn't have the resources to get something new, and that was looking really scary for me. And my uncle said, "Hey, how much do you need?" And I said, I don't know. I see this like PT Cruiser this isn't a plug for PT Cruisers, by the way. There was an article that said it's the least approved car for first dates or something. I don't know. So there was some article anyway, but I got a PT Cruiser because it was a 5-speed or 4-speed. And he said, "Well, I'll give you $5,000. And I said, I can't take that kind of money from you. I've got to at least put in my half, because that's what the program taught me. I've got to be self-supporting." And he said, "Well, whatever you've saved, I'll match it." And I was like, okay. So I got the car. And one of the blessings that I got was my daughter's first trip that we finally got to take a vacation. They live in the Bay Area. I lived in Portland at the time. And I got to take him to his home group in the car that he helped me buy, and
wow.
And I said, and I just said, "Hey, this is like such a blessing to be able to do this. Your sobriety is kind of what saved my life," because he was always that one person in our family that was different because he got it. He didn't drink anymore, And he said, I didn't buy this car for you, Polly, the program did. And it's like, wow, still humble to, you know what I mean? I don't know. Anyway. Okay.
Well, that's what we do. And, again, that speaks to, in working with others, it's so big that they say like, it's a program of attraction, not promotion. Yeah. We don't sit here and say like, your life would be so much better if you got sober. We just
that's like an info.
We're just
not an info.
Exactly.
We just be us, and we're like, if you want help and you ask for it, we will do anything to help you. Like we will stop our day. It's so funny that I've had sponsees that have called and asked for help, and they said it's like the quickest phone call return they get. And I'm like, oh yeah, if someone hears someone else is struggling, it doesn't matter what we're doing. Well, I've paused when we were coaching Evan's soccer team once, and I had someone call, and I literally just was like, okay, water break, and that goes priority.
But
I never thought I'd have this life. Like I didn't even know I'd want this life. Like I would have thought.
Well, it's also interesting talking to you because, like you said, Evan, our son, he was 2 when we got sober, and you just said your daughter was 3.
So how does she look at the program, or how does she, or how did you explain it to her as she was growing up? If you did.
Okay. There's a couple things. Can't keep what we have without giving it away was what I just thought of when you were talking. She was 3.5. And what happened was, her mom disappeared with her. And that was like, wow. Oh my God, this is because of my using. Even though her mom was using too, I knew, like I had been to calling the suicide hotline. That was who pointed me to, because I didn't want to live. I didn't have the, the guts to kill myself,
Yeah.
And
I didn't either. That's why I kind of like, I think I played like, that was my reach out for help, but again, a stubborn way,
because I didn't get it for a while after that. I went back, I put together like 60 days and I went back, and it's like, oh my God, the same thing. And we got to where we had gone through all of our finances. Now we had nothing. We were basically unemployable, and why the state hadn't taken our daughter at that point, was only because we're resourceful,
Addicts are so resourceful though, but now in sobriety, it's so much better. Like it's a much better resourceful.
And so, and that was the impetus for, like, I looked at the empty walls, like how many times is this? And the one thing that really stuck for me was like, I can't let my daughter be raised without a dad, without her daddy, it's like, I've known so many women that is such an like unfixable thing, and I didn't like, God, that I can't let me be that guy. No way, So, I didn't get clean for her because I didn't have her. I didn't know where my then wife had gone with her, or where her mom, I didn't know where they were taken. So I wrote the book. So she was 3 and.
Or when? When did you start writing the book?
When did I start writing the book? It was 5 years ago. So at that time, she was about 17, 18 years old, right in there. Okay. And what was the other question about what are the meetings? So how did she know about the program? Is that what you asked?
Yeah.
She was my sidekick at all the meetings. I was that parent who was terrified that somebody wasn't getting their meeting because my kid was crawling around on the floor, because she was she was still doing that kind of stuff, and
you have the nervous sweating because you're like, oh please just be quiet just a little bit longer.
And it's so funny because everyone else around loves it, and they all just smile, and they're so happy that a parent is there, like
in a room.
When I bring Evan with me, it is like everyone is like
excited to see him.
They just smile. Like I even got a message that when Doug was giving his chip and Evan was giggling at his iPad, Bryce said that was the happiest he'd seen Doug smile, just watching the we bring him to birthday night because he loves cake. And it's also cool to have him. I want him to one day give me my chip. If he'll do it. My mom gave me mine, and that was kind of my spiritual moment of. And my grandma was there, her mom, and her husband, who passed away, was alcoholic. He was sober over 20 years. And neither of my grandparents who were sober over 20 years got to see me sober, but I think that that's kind of what pushed it.
Yeah.
So you've really gone NA, and I know that NA and AA do have a slight difference. It's the same basics. I've been to actually one NA meeting, but I do argue a little bit in AA because they, the primary purpose, we're not supposed to talk about like outside drugs or use. Like they try to kind of keep it to alcohol. But drugs are still a part of my story while alcohol was my main.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, we couldn't keep up with our drinking without adding in upper stimulants. I'll say that because that's my code. And I think everyone knows what it is. And that helps you drink a lot more and it helps you stay awake and not pass out. Exactly, it would also contribute to blacking out. But what made you choose NA over AA? No particular.
I think it was because there's a couple reasons. I was saying that I was always really nervous. And then one night, I shared that with some women. Women really helped me because as a solo dad, first of all, there's not a lot of us. And second of all, the women know how to do this. And I knew that. And I went to women a lot in early recovery. Like, how do I do this? How do I go talk to the judge about like, we're not getting our child support. What do you do? Things like that. That was a little further on down the line. But when it came to like bringing my daughter to meetings, a woman once said, hey, like just what you said, it's better to have that addict alcoholic in the rooms than out there, isn't it? And I was like, yeah, that's logical. But I do want to say for anybody listening, if you're like, well, I would really like to check out the program, but I can't bring my kid or kids with me to it. Like there was a time where a woman, got in front of everybody and said, and let me, one other thing is there are some parents that go in there and they just let their kids run rampant, and God, that sucks for everybody. It really does, because it's a distraction. But
that's what I was going to say. As long as it's not distracting, but they usually have a separate room, like a half measures room or Al-Anon. I mean, when he was 2, we couldn't obviously put him, in there. I've watched other people's kids during a meeting. If I didn't feel like I was having a rough day, I'll be like, hey, if it's not weird, I can go in that little room and you can go to the meeting. Like, I've held babies during meetings for other people because they needed the meeting. And I'm like, I love babies and I was okay that day, So sometimes you go to a meeting and you end up being of service and you feel even better.
Yeah, totally.
Then, it's because now you've doing acts of service is how I feel the best in recovery.
Mm-hmm. Well, you said if it's not weird, why did you say that?
Just offering someone maybe I don't know, or if they're new, because typically if someone's nervous bringing their kid or they're having a harder day, I might not know them as well, or they might be like, just, they've only seen me one other time. I'm technically a stranger. Unless they know me. The baby one, I knew fairly well.
You knew the mom. Yeah,
I knew the mom. And so that wasn't weird. But if I've offered to watch someone's kid and they're like, this is my first meeting, or.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because like I said, I used to go to a lot of them. So I did learn, though, that with Evan, if I was anxious about him being anxious, he usually became anxious. And when they pick up, I would breathe in, let go, let God. And I would say a small prayer before bringing him in a meeting and say, let me hear what I need to hear. Let Evan do what he needs to do. And it usually worked out okay, but he could feel if I was energy, he's going to be crazy in this meeting or, and once I let that go and surrendered it, he really was, he loves going.
That's really good. That's really good to share that, because I felt the same way. And I just asked you about why you asked or thought why you made that comment, feeling weird, because I felt weird as a man watching other people's kids, because there's all sorts of stigma around that.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah,
and most people don't. Because my biggest fear is like having my daughter taken away at this point, because that's what I went through. But anyway, so just for the person thinking of going to a meeting, this woman got up and shared, and she said, it might be a little bit of a distraction, but if these parents are not here with their kids, they're out there, they're back out. And it was like, thank you for putting it that way. And that kind of helps the mindset of the person that doesn't have kids, who's there and going, oh my God, why is this little, person coloring right now? Because we have those obsessions, and it's okay. It's normal.
Yeah.
I also think I was a little surprised on what I saw when I did start coming to the rooms. I'm like, I thought it was going to be a bunch of people that looked like me on day one. I'm like, these are put together people.
Oh, yeah.
These are what? Mm-hmm. So, seeing someone with a child, I'm like, so you can keep your kids and you're an alcoholic. And, I'm like,
or that this is a
you're married. Like, cause I didn't think that was possible. I'm like, I thought we were getting divorced, so it was kind of like, you see a lot of hope in like, I never thought that would be possible. And so bringing in kids, it's, we do recover. We life is life.
Yeah.
It is trying to keep the meeting to its purpose.
You asked why NA.
Yeah.
And the reason when I called the suicide hotline and they suggested to me that I go to treatment, I was like, I can't be away from my daughter. I was still married at the time, but I just knew my daughter's not going to be okay. And there are some of us who like use our kids as our reason to not get clean.
Oh, I know.
So, right? We know. And at that time, I had not drank for 10 years. So I had quit drinking on my own, like cold turkey, dry drunk.
Yeah.
Because that drug to me did the most obvious damage, like the things that alcohol does, I was very, very blessed. Oh my God. So blessed that I never got pulled over while I was impaired, very impaired.
Same.
I should have been, and never ended up on the justice side of things. I think that would have made me worse just because of my personality. I would have like embraced the criminal being, and I'm so glad that those things didn't happen. But by the time that I was like, okay, I'll do outpatient treatment, and when I went in, they asked me about my drug use and they said, which program do you want to do? And I said, well, I might as well do the one that covers all drugs because I know I have a problem with alcohol, but I've been able to abstain. Yeah. And so that was why. But I've always gone. So my first sponsor, he said, we're going to work the steps the AA way first, So I did an AA version of the steps my first time through. And he also encouraged me to go to AA meetings. So I've always been.
Oh, NA is still AA. Like they use the big book. They have the daily reflections, I think is different. But I mean, it is all encompassing, which I do. I mean, it's funny that like CA, a lot of people don't actually have a problem even with cocaine. It's just really the younger crowd is in CA, but they read from the big book. That's it. They're all based on the same thing. Mm-hmm. But I think the reason this is at like detox centers or the 24-hour clubs, NA is all encompassing. CA is all, because with AA, technically people, if you have someone who's not as nice chairing or a super old timer, they'll be like, hey, stick to our primary purpose. We don't talk about outside drugs. And I'm like, well, if I never drank, I probably wouldn't have done drugs, but the drinking led to the drugs and the drugs led to more drinking. And it's addiction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's my moral inventory.
Yeah, there's that. I mean, that it's such an important conversation because for me, what really happened, because of COVID and being indoors, like And this even like I wanted to include this talking about if Bill W were around today, would he be on podcasts?
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
You know, it's these primary, you know, I think of Star Trek for some reason, the prime directive, you know, it's like these, you know, these value systems that the steps set up to encourage a human being to do better, to be better, to treat themselves better so they can treat others better. Like those are the important things, you know. I mean, if you're, you know, I'm not drinking, but I'm up for 5 days straight on meth. Like
I would say that's equally as bad. You know, like it's an addiction.
But if I said that to you, oh, you know, that's bad, then I'm breaking my.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I as someone who's chaired a lot of meetings too, I've never had someone go like way off topic anyways. The only ones I've had to do is like people talk about controlled drinking. That's the only one I pretty much shut down. It is, I'm like, hey, can we stick to the primary purpose? Yeah. Which is not controlled drinking. Like, yeah, you can, that's your experience, but like, we're here to share the message of that we recover, not that like to plant seeds that you can, you know, go do it differently. If you want to go do it differently, be our guest where no one's stopping you, but that's not what we're here about. We're here because we couldn't do it differently. We tried all the different ways and couldn't do it. It was bigger than us.
Exactly. It's our experience is like, and that was the thing that I thought, well, a Bill W, you know, he was able to point out the similarities, right? He was able to notice and to notice like, here's some of the things we've all tried, you know, and we still ended up in the same place. And here's this one other thing that we tried and we're not back in the same place. Some of us are, and we don't know why some of us are. We're guessing that it's because of, you know, this, but you know,
well, that's why he says to share, you know, he's like, listen, he says, even when he says working step 12, which I still kind of laugh at, he's like, you know, go to your doctor. He'll give you some sponsees, you know, go to your local church. They know, they'll know someone who, he was just big. I mean, that's my bringing the message or going to meetings at the hospital at detox centers, probably one of my favorites. Like it is a spiritual experience every time because that's what Bill and Bob did. They just went up with Silkworth and he'd be like, hey, do you have someone who's detoxing on alcohol? And that's where that picture of them sitting on the bed with the guy in the white t-shirt, who's the alcoholic, they're Bill and Bob carrying the message. And okay, one thing I want to hear how the sober festivals, this Camp Sober Fest, I'm intrigued and curious and maybe want to go. So how does that work? What is that?
Okay. There's a woman named Breezy Nolan, and she is, well, I know she works with Taste Recovery. She took over this event last year.
Okay.
I think it had gone on 3 or 4 years prior, up in Big Bear, which is outside of LA.
Right.
And where are you guys at?
We're Dallas, but my grandma was in Santa Monica for a very long time. Okay. So, I mean, that's where I go every summer in Palm Springs.
Oh, heck yeah.
I mean, she was right in it.
Well, I grew up in Las Vegas, and I mean, Southern Cal was where we went for vacation and have fun and party all the time.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The meetings in Vegas are another level too. Like because we've gone and they're huge and like they have a huge amounts of coffee. And it was like, I mean, it was a giant 50 meeting. To 70 people, and it was amazing.
7:30 in the morning.
It was it was awesome.
You know, I mean, it's a town of indulgence. I mean, it enabled my addiction in so many ways. You know, it's all Vegas's fault, man. No, I didn't mean that. I just mean like
that was what I used to say. Yeah,
taking my daughter back there when she was, you know, much younger. And it was like, Daddy, I want this. I want, you know, candy everywhere. And it's like, wow, like any addiction you can think of is like it's blaring at you there, you know.
They pump oxygen in there for a reason.
Exactly.
You know, they want you awake.
So Camp Soberfest, I came across it on Instagram, and so it's let me get my facts straight on it. It's either 3 or 4 days. I think it's 4 days. I mean, like it starts Thursday and goes through Sunday, and I believe so. And last year they had it at a place called Camp Sequoia, which was up in by Sequoia National Park. Oh my God.
Yeah, I was like, I think I've been to Sequoia. Yeah.
Just like ideal serenity spot.
Like Joshua Tree.
Well, they just did a Spooky Fest in Joshua Tree. So Camp Soberfest is a couple-day festival. It's all these events for people in recovery. I don't know if there's a clean time expectation there. I don't think so. It might be 48 hours, but I don't know. But you have cabins, you have a mess hall, there's meetings, there's activities, hiking, boating, swimming. The lake is like crazy warm for being at 9,000 feet. And I got a hold of Reezy and I was like, hey, I do this sound healing thing. Also there's like breath work, there's yoga in the morning. So all these things, for somebody to expand even more what they enjoy in recovery, and she was like, well, tell me about it. So I told her about it. And so my background, so I was a musician my whole life. I played music for a living, sold CDs out of the van, toured the country, that kind of thing, played covers to pay the bills. I picked up like part-time jobs here and there, but I never had a career that would earn me a substantial living, but
it allowed you to live the life you wanted. Because I said that with waiting tables, I could drink.
Yeah.
And still, I don't know how I kept it together looking back, but in the same, you would tennis, it kind of allowed you to.
Yeah. I was teaching tennis full time, but
you would sometimes drink with the people so the lifestyle I feel like we look at careers and stuff that we suited around our drinking, and even, obviously playing was a passion. You find his tennis is still his passion. But we kind of made it suitable of like, well,
I can drink around
this. I can make life work with alcohol.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
And me being a singer, songwriter, guitar player, the alcohol early on was just like a benefit, I guess,
I feel like that's the excuse we give ourselves is it's our muse. We need this in order to
I've wrote so much better stuff in sobriety, even though I'm like, oh, drinking, smoking makes me get more in touch. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. That's a lie. Like that was the disease told me that. But anyways, go.
Well, I came from a family where, the question I dreaded anytime I ate dinner with my mom and dad was like, what are you going to do with your life? And I was 25 years old, like making music for a living, playing, 6 nights a week to be able to make my rent. My value system was I take care of me. And just like, what am I going to do with my life? And my mom's like, it's not too late for you to be a teller at a bank, and because that's where she started. And she ended up, having a good career because she got into the technical side of things, Anyway, it's like, it was a pressure. It was like I'll take on the pressure. Let's go, like I'll show you I can make a living doing this. And the drinking especially was, that's where you played to make money, was bars.
Mm-hmm.
You don't play at the library and make money, Okay. So all these years I'd played music. I knew it was my gift because, I devoted my life to like being really good on the guitar and singing and crafting songs. And my addiction slowly just chipped away at that. And by the time I was in my late 30s, I was, on a downward spiral. And then I had my daughter. And, she was like all the hope in the world, like, my life's going to change. And my addiction kept spiraling down. And my talent kept withering away. And then the day I come home from work and my daughter's gone, and it's like, wow, everything changed, right? And within a year of that time, I end up with sole custody of her because of her mom's using, and our daughter got harmed on her mom's watch. And so the state intervened. And at that point, it's like, I got to work. And there's nothing there, there's no like, I sure as heck ain't going to go play bars. I knew I was able to because I hadn't drank in so many years. I actually did relapse on alcohol. I think it was about 4 months before I eventually got completely clean and sober.
Well, your mind tells you maybe I can do it differently with this, or and
that's exactly what my mind told me.
I really think that helps establish sobriety. If I'm being honest, like I've told people, I'm like, you just have a powerful step one. You have, because we haven't gone back out since we took our desire chip. But I've told Colin too, our drinking dreams or things like that, I kind of look at as another step one, because I'm like, it feels so real. I'm like, I know I've just tried to quit so many times. I know I can't do it differently. Like, but people
that's
that
what
do, I'm like, it's okay. Come back, because all you did is say, hey, I can't do it. Like you just reestablished, you got stronger, really. I'm not encouraging, but I'm saying it. I think one of the hardest things I hear is people that relapse, they're scared to come back or ashamed or no, come back, share, tell your story. Totally. It just makes your step one so stronger.
Yeah. Because I like I said, I put together, I think it was 64 days, and the 7 months that followed that, when I relapsed, now I included drinking again, and I was an ugly drunk, according to my ex-wife. That 7 months was the worst. Like we lost everything in that 7 months, and when I came back to the room, I was scared. I was so scared of showing my face and having somebody go, "Oh, you're back," or whatever. I was so afraid, and it's very, I think, common for us to like beat ourselves up way more than anybody else ever could, and so I stood outside the meeting and had a panic attack, one that I had attended regularly in those 60 days. And I ended up going to a different meeting. I was so terrified.
Oh, wow. And I mean, that's the story our head tells us. And what's the truth is you walk in there and you will never feel more loved. It's like, they're so glad you're back. I've been on the side of seeing someone, I'm like, oh my God, thank God you're back. And, they're like expecting to be like, I can't believe,
or shunned or
shamed, or you have to go sit in the
corner,
that chair for, we'll give you whatever you want. Seriously, we'll go make your coffee for you. We'll go get you a Sprite or a Coke, whatever. We're just glad you're back.
Yeah. The nice God shot that happened in that is so I was in fear. And I went to a different meeting that same night. I didn't wait another day. I went to a different meeting, and I show up, and somebody hands me that, oh, you're chairing tonight. I'm like,
oh my God. Oh no.
And then after the meeting, it was perfect. And after the meeting, a young woman came up to me and she's like, oh my God, you told me exactly what I needed to hear. I was so ready to go use tonight. And I went, that's the program. That's the God, the higher power working. My fear gripped me. I was afraid to go show my face. Part of it was because there was a lot of old timers at that meeting, and I was just so sure that they'd be like, "Oh, it doesn't work out anymore, doggies." Wait, why are old timers pirates in my head? I don't know.
Yeah, old timers as pirates. I like that though.
If you're listening, they will not. I promise. Even the one that looks like a super pirate,
that's so true.
He will. It's the very few times you get those grumpy old men that they see someone who's new and they turn into a teddy bear, and they understand and they listen, and they'll give you good advice if you just listen. They'll tell you something mean and be like, take the cotton balls out of your ears. But they're only doing it out of love. Because they too had cotton balls in their ears, and they, it's hard sometimes. Not everyone's great at conveying.
There was a guy at that meeting. They called him Baseball Bat Bob because he actually took a bat on somebody. He was a messed up old dude, and something happened where he finally got recovery, and was a speaker at a meeting one night, and he was the softest, gentlest man inside, and he had been molested as a child, and and it's like, you didn't know all this about this guy who like saw the world as this thing he had to fight all the time, and the program finally set in for him, Anyway, my kid, I have to work for a living. There's really no time for music. I played an occasional show, but I probably went from playing between 150 and 250 shows a year to about 5 to 10, and so because I used to play all the time, and then I got married. I got remarried. My wife eventually started doing Al-Anon because her dad died of alcoholic dementia. Okay. Her ex-husband was mostly mentally abusive, but he had some issues with using as well. So I have 2 stepkids. We met through our daughters. All 3 kids have type 1 diabetes. Our daughters met at a diabetes camp, and they became absolutely 100% like inseparable best friends. They were so much alike. And anyway, so the following year, I kept hearing about this Zoe. Who's Zoe? I can't wait to see Zoe, right? And then the next year, I'm standing in line, and like, there's Zoe, and I'm like, oh, you're Zoe's mom. Hey, and she's just like, get away from me. We were both at that stage in being single parents that it's like, there's no time for like some love or whatever. Yeah. And we actually, hey, can I get your number? We have a lot in common. Maybe we can talk. And we were just friends for like 3 months. And I was like, I'm going to ask her out.
Well, your kids are also, if they're friends, that helps because you can go like to the play dates together. Date, if it were dropping kid off and like you're not with, but if you're hanging out with their best friends, that kind of.
Yeah, they kept saying, we ship you guys. I don't know if you remember that saying where it's like, we approve of you being together kind of thing.
Yeah, I do. I was like, I know I've heard that.
It was so cute. I mean, they were, we all moved in together when it was like, and then my youngest, or my stepson, his name's Evan as well. And
really? That's awesome.
Yeah. And he's 2 years younger than the girls. So, I mean, they were 14 and he was 12, the worst possible age to bring a family together. And then COVID hit. I mean, we went through a lot, and we almost didn't make it, I think it was 5 months before COVID hit. I had quit my job of 12 years to write the book. And it's like, I got this time in this space. I'm home. The kids are at school. My wife's at work. And then COVID hits and everybody's home. Yeah. And it's like, oh,
not quite ideal writing space.
No, it was rough. No.
And then you were
we were still drinking. So, I mean, sorry.
Well, and he was like 1.5, where you had preteens and teenagers. So you also became somewhat of a teacher too, because of all the Zoom. Like
Evan was before before when COVID hit, before he was 1. He was
that's right. Months. He was just 6, 9 months. Yeah.
And we upped the drinking to a max because we were home.
There's so many people I think died.
Yeah, they had it delivered. And,
oh, true.
They changed the laws.
Different, kid gates all over the house, and he wasn't walking yet. So even being drunk, it was easy to watch him because he could only crawl to certain areas of the house.
We would safe-proof the house for our drinking. Yeah. Like, and how that sounds so ridiculous today. I'm like,
I relate to that though. I know what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. It's like,
and I would get angry if bedtime didn't work exactly how it was supposed to, because it interfered with mommy's time to start drinking. And, and it's like, I can't imagine today. I don't have, I don't get, if things mess up, the program has just taught me to pause. I don't have to react. I can respond, and not always perfect. I still have flips, but I also make amends.
Right.
Did you make amends to your daughter when she was young? Ever? Because I do it to Evan. I'll be like, hey, I owe you an amend, buddy.
Yes.
Yes. I said he's going to be on the playground making amends with other kids, and they're going to be like, what's an amend?
I owe you an amend. That's fun.
Well, so you wrote the book, or how long did you have to kind of pause, or you get delayed in your writing? Because you had this ideal situation. Oh, I'm going to write. I'll have this time alone. And then COVID happens, and then everyone's in your creative space. And then how did you work around that? And how, once COVID started, the bands lift, were you able to get back to your project? Because, I mean, this has been a kind of ongoing project for you. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I did what I could when I could. I mean, fortunately, it's a memoir. It's not like a creative. I mean, I got creative in the writing. Yeah. But I found ways. Like I'm good at, like, nose to the grindstone. I know I got to do this. I mean, we even separated at one point. We lived in 2 different houses, just because I needed to focus on, for a lot of reasons, to take the steam off the pressure cooker. Me and Evan kind of went at it one day, and I was like, we can't have that escalate ever. Like, that can't be a thing. I love this kid and he loves me, but right now we're not in our best. And, so I found ways, resourceful addict. No,
but I think it's really powerful to, like, I think some of the times I've gone even at it with our Evan, or, made a mistake. I never grew up seeing things recover like that. We just moved on and didn't talk about it. And, like, being able to acknowledge there's a problem here. We got to figure out how to fix it. Like, I'm very glad that Evan's growing up, being able to see that, because I never saw that. I thought when fights happened, you got over it and you never talked about it again.
Yeah. Yep. That's how I grew up too.
And it took days to get over it. Yeah. The men's now come a lot faster, and we're more sincere with our apologies instead of just saying it to get over the argument or move past the argument.
It doesn't feel good to hold on to it. Like, if I do something wrong, I don't want to carry it the whole day. I want to go say, hey, bud, listen, mom made a mistake. I reacted. I didn't respond, and that wasn't right. And,
that was the turn for me too, was like realizing it's hurting me to carry this.
It does. Oh my God.
I used to felt so, privileged to be mad. Like, that was my privilege. I get to be mad at you.
I used to throw things. So yeah, I know.
Yeah. Same. And just like, well, wait a minute though. I'm obsessing on this. I'm so mad. I'm obsessing. A day, 2 days goes by. I haven't completed any tasks really. I've gone through the motions of making food or what, the things that I got to do to survive, like the lizard brain. It's a lizard brain, and and then I just realized, well, if I say something now, and then, at first it was like, what's the saying? Fake it till you make it. Or, I mean, I just tried, I tried it, hey, I'm sorry I did that. I'm so mad still though. And, and then it was like, okay, why am I mad though?
Yeah. I know a phrase we like that is, get the mind there and the body will follow.
I like that.
It's backwards. Get the body there and
the mind will. I'm dyslexic.
The mind will follow.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like, when I didn't want to go to a meeting, but I knew I needed a meeting, and this has come a lot from, I've been dealing with illness, like physical, mystery illness. Some think it's because it was covered up by drinking and I was like coping, but my blood work is very bad for a couple of years now, and no one can figure it out. And I would say, so my job is to get in the car and deliver my body to the meeting, and my mind will follow. If my mind does not follow, I can leave, but it always follows. And I am in the parking lot and I'm like, I'm walking up the stairs. And again, I have to separate it so much. The gym too, go drive, get your body to the treadmill. And if you really don't feel like turning it on, you can leave, but there's a good chance your mind will follow. And I think I do that with writing. I'm in school though, so it's a little different writing, but like, hey, if I can pick up the pen, set up my station, get in front of it, my mind will follow. Now, the problem is when my body, I can't get it going. And that's where the real bad days are. But even for this podcast, sometimes we have to sit down and say, let's get everything set up, get our butts in the chairs. And there hasn't been a time where we're like, yeah, we're just not going to record.
Speaking of sound healing, then.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Exactly.
With your body too. Okay. So the kids grow up. The daughters have both moved out. Our son, Evan, he's 19. He's still home. He's just 19. He just turned 19. He's looking to go into the trades, which is awesome. Like he wants to be an electrician, which is like,
awesome.
Dude, do it. We support you.
They do great. I love trade school. I think it's way better because you're focused. You get to learn what you actually want to do.
Yeah, and you're usually doing it while you're learning it. Yeah, exactly. And so I was like, okay, so writing the book came from years of prayer. It really did. And like I've said earlier in this podcast, like I'm very much about being self-supporting. Like no one's going to pay my way. I was like that before at times and felt horrible. It's demeaning to me, and, and my wife, I respect, like she has a level of comfort that she wants to have, and she's got a great job. But that doesn't mean she has Hello Kitty, that she has like this level of comfort, and so I'm like, can we pray on it? I keep getting these nudges from my higher power that I need to write this memoir. I need it to help, other dads who might be going through the same thing and just like give up. I have come across plenty of moms who are like, oh, I just gave my kid to my parents because they're going to do better with her. And it's like, no, and it's just our disease is telling us we're not good enough. Go ahead, just use, the kid will be fine, that kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, I need to write this book. I need to address how our brains work. And maybe that will help somebody that's not an addict or alcoholic understand a little bit better the disease in the brain of the thoughts that we get. Why do we tell ourselves this is okay? Why do we tell ourselves, oh yeah, I'll be there at 9 and we show up at 10:30 and think that was fine? Well, I had some things to do. Hey, I have a life too, all the excuses, the rationalizations, the denial, like all this stuff. I wanted to put it in the book. I wanted to write a book that had it in it because the memoirs that I had been reading at that time didn't have that in that. They were the mess, the change and the message, right? And it's like, well, I'd rather like not focus on the mess. I'd rather focus on, I don't want to write my story of all the years I used. I want to write my story of like, why did I change everything, and the hope that it can be done. It can, and it's like, I got burned out at being at meetings and saying it can be done, hey, come on. And there's plenty of other people there to do that. And so I felt like this would be my different way of giving back to the community, giving back to the recovery people that need it. And then had this cushion, quit my job of 12 years, wrote the book, put it out this year. It's a big accomplishment. It finally came out in April, was published in April. And at that point I was like, okay, I've done that thing that I believe God has asked of me.
You got an award for it, correct? I was like, I'm pretty sure I saw it got awarded. Like, it
got the Ian Award. Yeah.
That had to have felt so great because it's hard. Gosh. It's not easy to write a memoir.
It's a huge accomplishment.
It's awesome. And it's going to help a lot of people because people that aren't ready to go in that room might want to read about, maybe
exactly.
This is the softer, easier way until they get there,
Right. Yeah.
Because I read stuff. Before I went in.
So did I. I mean, that was really that was a big influence for me. Was some of the memoirs that I had read about people, getting clean, getting close to sober, and I was at that point. I was like really missing. I ended up going back to work. My employment, the place I'd been for 12 years, they hired me back, and I really missed playing music a lot. I knew that's always been my gift. And I wanted to know, how am I going to do this to give back? I thought, well, one thing that really helps me a lot is like late at night, I listen to like chill music, lo-fi, and why don't I start doing that? So I started dabbling in that for a bit, putting out some songs. And I got a call from a friend. So I used to be in punk bands in Las Vegas. I have, I'm gonna do a little self whatever.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Self-indulgent.
I love it. No, go for it.
I have a guitar hanging at the Punk Rock Museum in Las Vegas, which is like an international museum that people come to it's this amazing punk rock museum. Yeah. They dedicated a wall in the 80s. We had this amazing punk scene in Las Vegas. Every big band came through Las Vegas. Vegas was a very, I don't mean to be demeaning to any group of people, but the concept of like redneck, like closed-minded. Vegas was like that in the 80s. A lot of people don't know that. The bands that were like the music that was on the strip was the stuff from the 40s and the 50s. It was not a progressive music town. And so we had to do our gigs like out in the desert. We'd rent a generator and have bands come out there. It was, and so we had but we had about 300 to 500 kids that showed up every week, as often as we put on shows, they showed up. Anyway, the people that put together the Punk Rock Museum, Fat Mike from NoFX is one of the founders. They decided to dedicate a wall to the local scene. And so, what a validation of like, this music that everybody said is going nowhere. It'll never amount to anything. No one will remember punk rock music in 20 years, and anyway.
Question about your book when you were mentioning it and the different things, because I think you said this because it's, I think, a hard thing for people to understand or realize an addict's mindset until they kind of become an addict. And as you mentioned, like, always being late to places and like, you show up, I'll be there at 9:30 and you show up at 10:30 or 11. And like you said, it's like, well, I have a life too. And you're already ready to have this combatant energy and argument stance. Like, I'm right, you're wrong. Why can't you just chill? Exactly. Because, and I even remember I have friends before they say it's a progressive disease, which I believe, because before I was an addict, I could never comprehend my friends who were addicts. I was like, why can't you just wait to do that after you go to work? Why can't you just do, it was always, why can't you just, can't you just? And I just couldn't comprehend the disease until the disease took hold of me and I'm doing these things. And then looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, okay. I had no control over it. And just like my friends in their early 20s had no control over getting high before work. And that's why they could never keep a job and things like that. And like you said, it's a very interesting point that a lot of, I think, normies don't understand or don't get.
Right. It's natural for a normie to live life on life's terms. Like, and we have this concept that like, well, that's stupid.
Yeah.
Living on my terms, everything gets done right.
And everyone else around me can adapt.
They'll adapt. Yeah.
And I also didn't see how bad my drinking was when I was drunk, because it's not like you can take it back. Once I was over the line, especially as a mom. And let's also mention the fact of, I also too thought like when I became a mom, I hadn't drank for 9 months, my drinking, I was going to be responsible. This is a new life. This is a new lease. Parenting's hard. And I had no coping tools. I didn't have what the program teaches me. So when things got really hard, I drank, and parenting newborn to talk, it's hard.
Oh my gosh.
And it's not to say it's a trigger, it's a blessing. I know that now, but if you don't have the tools, you don't have the resources, I understand if someone's drinking. I get it. I did it. Yeah. And, so if you're a parent out there and you're thinking you can't do it, I promise, if you go and reach out to another alcoholic who's a parent, we'll tell you there's other tools. It's hard, but if you're willing to do anything, you can do exactly what I did. Cause I was, but I was willing to do anything to get sober. But yeah, parenting's hard. It's not easy, but we do it.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I don't think I said that. So I have a grandson So
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. My
mom really loves our son. It's like her second chance, kind of. And
it kind of is, you know.
Evan through sober eyes, because she didn't see my sister and I through sober eyes. And
there was like an Instagram post that said something like that. You know, it's like it's not that I love your grandson more than you, but it's like your grandson represents the you that I didn't get to see because I was using at the time, you know. And so yeah, he turns 1 in a couple days, and oh my God, what a blessing. But you remind me, like, you know, her husband's in recovery. He's almost done with drug court. And she, you know, I don't think my daughter Lola is an addict, but she could be. I don't know. That might come up later in life, like her mom and her dad were, or whatever.
And Al-Anon teaches a lot of those tools too. I think you said about, I don't know if she was the one that's going in Al-Anon, but
no, that's my wife, Jennifer. Okay. But she has those tools from being at meetings for years and years, you know, and but I just, you know, it just reminds me I need to like identify that with them, that I really praise them for, like, this is a really hard chapter in raising a kid, is that first year, you know.
It's
and so is the second, hard. So is the third, so is the fourth. I mean, they all have their things, but
but you know, I will tell you that I've never regretted being sober, even for his worst meltdown. Like, realizing how unpresent I was. Like, you couldn't have told me that till I got sober. I would have argued, you know, I'm doing it this. Like, I can't do the crime, whatever. There's never a moment I would rather be drinking. And this is coming from someone who thought drinking was everything. It was we almost named him Jameson because that's what we loved, was Jameson. And we were like, that's how he got here. That's what he should be named. And
I'm glad you guys didn't do that.
And I still love the name Jameson. But I'm really glad that that's not when he asks us, like, why did you name me? It's not like, well, honey, we love Jameson basically more than you, so we named you. Like, and again, that's not our story today. And but it takes a minute to step away.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Okay, I'm going to try to wrap this up a little bit because I'm going to gather. It's so easy for me you guys are awesome to talk with. It's like we're just bantering. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. And that's why we made the podcast, because we hadn't heard a podcast that was just kind of fun, formal, like you said, with the books and the memoirs. Yeah. You know, there's got to be a different angle, and this is our different angle. We want to have fun. We just want to banter. It's easy going. But yeah, bring us home. And I will be putting everything in the show notes. I have the Facebook, the Instagram, but also more importantly, your website with links to your book.
There it is.
There it is. There we go. It's a beautiful cover too.
So the name of the book, Hide and Seek, A Dad's Journey from Soulless Addiction to Soul Custody.
Yes. I love that.
Okay. Played music for years. Got a guitar in the punk rock museum. And then the kids out on their own. What do I do to give back now? I've written the book. It's published. I started listening to this chill music. It's like, well, that makes me feel calm. You know, I'm a tense addict. You know, I'm a tense person even in recovery. And so I was like, I don't know. So I started praying about it. And then I get a call from a friend who has known me from the punk rock days in Vegas. And she's like, hey, I'm going to open a treatment center in Nashville. And I was like, oh, good for you. That's way cool. You know, and she's like, I've been doing treatment centers and I got this opportunity. I got this funding. Everything's falling into place, but I want there to be a music program. It's Nashville, for God's sake. And I'm like, well, you know, I'm open to that. And I don't know how I'll do it though. So I started reading about like, okay, what would I do? And I started reading because I didn't do a treatment center. So I don't know. I don't have that experience, you know? And I'm like, well, what could I even do in a treatment center? And I start hearing about, you know, like people relaxing for an hour and listening to music, and the music, like, you know, certain songs unearth certain memories, and, you know, we have to appeal to all the different styles of music, and we have to be careful of certain things that are triggering, but we, you know, and it's like, well, like that's second nature to me. Like music has always been what kept me alive. It's those dark times I could change the darkness within myself, within my brain, by listening to something that would make me feel light, or I could humble myself by listening to something that would take me down. Like it always had that power. And so I'm like, well, this seems like kind of second nature. Maybe I can put something together like this. So I started taking some college courses, and I come across sound healing, and I see that the neuroscience now proves what I've always known, that music has this ability. It changes the brain functions, and so the neuroscience now, which is only proven in the last like 15, 20 years tops, it shows that certain frequencies affect the brain in certain ways. And then I came across this 528 hertz solfeggio frequencies, and these are there's like a universal tuning for instruments nowadays that's 440 hertz. That's what the note A is on. And in the 30s, they changed that, and there's all these like conspiracy theories of they changed it because it doesn't really work with the body, and so maybe it's adding to the unhealthiness of society. But they found that like Gregorian chants and Tibetan monks were singing in this frequency range of 444 hertz. It's kind of complicated, and like these chants were in this key that was pleasing to some people call it the love frequency. It just lines up with the universe and the earth and the planet and the vibrations, more accurate, like more better. I don't have the word.
The softer, easier way. Yeah. Like
it's more nature based. Whereas this other tuning that some agency decided we're going to make it universal. And a lot of there's some European like orchestras. They're like, no, we want to use the old tuning.
It's the authentic version.
It's more authentic. It's more in line with the planet, and so I'm like, well, this sounds really cool. And I keep reading, and then it says effect on alcoholics and withdrawals. I'm like, what? And it's been proven to ease anxiety and ease withdrawal symptoms. And I'm like, oh my God, this is what I need to do. So I got certified as a sound healer. Sound healing is different from music therapy. Music therapy is 4 years of college. It's what a lot of people do when they go into hospitals, and some of them use these frequencies as well. I just clarify that, I have to make a disclaimer statement before each sound healing. Like this isn't, I just do, and that's fair.
I was like, we've gone to sound baths and stuff like that. Yeah. So, I mean, I think they say the same thing, especially like even in meditation or yoga places. Yeah. Exactly. I've done lots. Not lots, quite a few, but the one in Sedona was next level sound bath.
Sounds so nice. I love it.
But yeah, anyways, go ahead. So it's clarified it's different than the 4-year way. It's
yes. And so I got certified, and I started just focusing on this 528 hertz. Well, how can I do that? I'm a guitar player. How can I create these soundscapes? And what I found is if you tune the guitar a certain way and you play in a certain key, you are using those direct frequencies. And so I started doing that. I started creating what I call songscapes, because I'm a songwriter. So and I started using loops and layers. Nice. I have a lot of effects and a lot of loops. I started there, and there's like, I don't even know if this is really doing anything. I started like doing yoga, playing with a yoga instructor, this guy, Adam Latham. And, it was so nice of him to like, yeah, sure. Come on down and, do this with me. And then but the feedback we were getting was like, oh my God, I've never like had that much of a release in a yoga situation. I'm like, okay, so there's something to these frequencies. And then I got a hold of Breezy at Camp Soberfest, and I'm like, hey, this is this thing I'm doing. And she's like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. Yeah. Come on down, we'll put you up and everything. And I'm just like, all right, and so we went and did this. So, the sun sets. I'm painting a picture. We're right next to a lake. It's this grass, little grass knoll, basically. But there's 100 people. And I was like, I thought maybe like 10 would show up. I didn't know. Like, this is all new to me. And like you said, you've been to a lot of these. I hadn't even been to one at this point yet.
I don't even think they were certified though. Like, I think that they're just meditation teachers that do like the sound bowl and had practice, but maybe they're certified. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe some are, some aren't.
It's yoga nidra more is like where they do yoga nidra with the sound bath and
right. Yeah. Like, yeah. And so here's 100 plus people laying out. Sun goes down. I mean, I can't see any of them. I don't know what they're doing. I have no idea. And I just start playing. People come up to me afterwards and they're like, they had visions. They, and it's just like, God's, my higher power, I call God, is
interchangeable.
Is taking me the right way. Like this is what I should be doing. So that was more of a confirmation of, okay, keep doing this. And so what I've done from here is I've started taking courses with sound healers that put on courses. There's one right now, Bodhi Starwater is his name, and he's been doing sound healing for 30 years. Wow. And I shared with him in class what I'm doing, and he's like, wow, he's like, there's very few of you doing this kind of thing. And I told him, well, the reason I'm doing it is it's my way of giving back. I have the memoir, and now I'm doing sound healing, which I believe is my gift, to share these songscapes with people who are in recovery. And he's like, I'm going to take private lessons with him next. But so he's introduced, let me just do something real quick here.
I mean, God reveals so much. I think like that's what they say, on the last, more is going to be revealed, and you listen to it and you just keep following and trusting. You got to trust it doesn't trust. Take the phone call. You don't, and it's accepting without expecting, you know?
Here, just listen to this for a second.
Yeah, I can hear.
Like, these are called Koshi chimes, and it's like somebody used those at a sound healing, and I was like, oh my God, that made me feel so peaceful.
Yeah, I can feel that. Yeah.
I was like, that sounds I was gonna, do you record it on mic too and like go the audition way, or do you try to stay live like when you're doing it?
I have I have a friend named Kevin Anderson. He goes by Kayo. He does drumming, like with a djembe. That stuff I've recorded. These I'll walk around the room with. So, to have this sound like over you it's just so pleasing, I
was like, in person, it probably is amazing. I mean, it sounds pretty clear over the audio as well. I felt it because I literally got a vibration, but
nice.
I was just curious on what, if it's recorded. Because sometimes
not for that.
Though it's crisp audio, still it's not, in person is just different.
It is. So I don't do that with loops. I do some beats with the loops that are pre-recorded. But with something like that, I'm incorporating different elements into the sound healing. So now it's just I did one a week ago, and just the feedback is like it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, which is healing, So anyway, that's what I do now.
That's so awesome that you were able to channel your first love of music and playing music into this new avenue or new way that you never, thought possible. And then that makes it fun for you because you're now learning this new musical method. Yeah. And that's been in your heart forever.
Right. It's awakened so much creativity, and it's like, how blessed am I to be, an aging man, an elderly, and getting to like be creative. Oh my gosh. Like, it's just the blessings. They keep coming in recovery. So couldn't do it without being clean, without being sober.
And maybe that, gives you a little hope because, I think you've spoke to the parenting. It's busy for a while, but they do grow up, and you just got to keep, staying sober because you never know when an opportunity will present itself. And
Right.
You know, maybe one day you will get to run like a sober tennis, you know, team. But right now it is very busy, but this is our outlet, and we're just grateful to have people like you reach out to us, and we're able to say, hey, because this is kind of like a meeting for us too. And it helps share the word from lots of different perspectives. And I hope there's links on your website to the sound healing and anything you have upcoming, because it's cool to share.
Anything else you want to share, let us know.
Anything else you want to, any closing?
There is
coming up maybe.
Well, I what I want to say is early in this podcast, you mentioned, attraction rather than promotion. And I mean, that's the struggle I've had with the book. I don't want to do a bunch of like, buy my book, like I wouldn't buy somebody's book who does that. When I was using, I would be like, oh my God, here's another, charlatan or whatever.
I understand. And that's what we do with the podcast. We're like, listen, but if you hate it, turn it off. It's fine. Well, if it's not yours, it's fine.
I'm just addressing the fact that like, someone like me, and I can tell people like you guys, it's like you wanted to have this like organic, just like a natural, it's natural. Like you're just doing what you do naturally, instead of like blaring, megaphones in people's faces and saying, come see us. It's like the hard thing for me, and maybe for you guys, is like, well, that means I just need to learn more patience and trust and faith that it's gonna get into the hands it needs to get in, because I wanted to get into so many people, the book especially, and even now sound healing, into so many people's hands, but I got to just like let go and let God, just like God's putting it places,
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hope someone
blessing of being on this podcast.
Yeah. And they go on other podcasts, on other sobriety ones. I was going to say and that's the people who are listening who need the book, because I tuned into a few podcasts before, again, I got sober, because it's like, I want to hear about it. And today you've shared a lot of hope. And I've already ordered the book. I got it on Amazon. So, because I want to read, I wish I would have had it beforehand. And again, life is just very busy with a 5-year-old, and we're just grateful that we get to find time and do this podcast, because it's very healing, and we're connecting with people that we would have never connected with. We would have never met you had we not made, maybe we would have, who knows, but we're thankful you came on the show. We're thankful you shared some of your memoir, and like who you are, knowing the author is always a little cool,
and what you're doing now.
And the next steps, and maybe being able to one day meet in person at, I really want to check out camp. So
I'm excited to see your guitar in Vegas.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So
We
will be having that on the books for sure.
And I'll put it out there on the podcast that like next year, so 2025, definitely like after March, I'm so open to traveling, doing the sound healing, so if you come to Dallas, if anyone in Dallas was, or anywhere along the way.
Yeah. Any venue.
Maybe we'll connect, and maybe if we get listeners that want to do that, maybe we could put an event together or something like that, but we don't really know who listens. I know my mom does, but and even if it's just her, that's fine. I was like, we don't really ask. We try not to ask too much. Like I said, it's the same as what you said.
Yeah.
We're not trying to promote, but also like we're wanting to get it to the ears of people that want to listen or need a different kind of banter.
Growing and building a base takes time, and we're also practicing, because neither one of us are professional speakers or podcasters before we got into this.
Yeah.
So it's a fun, growing experience.
It's a lot of fun. So thank you again for coming on the show.
Thank you, both of you.
Links are in the bio. Go order the book. You can get it right before Christmas. I'm sure with Amazon, because I think ours is getting delivered tomorrow. So
awesome.
Amazon.
Yeah, and I do have a special up. I don't know if how soon is this going live?
I am going to next week for sure. I just don't know if it'll be Tuesday or Wednesday, or maybe if I can get tomorrow's out to tomorrow or yesterday's out tomorrow, then this will probably be Monday, or Tuesday.
I was just going to say that right now I'm doing a special too, where if you order it through my website, like not on Amazon, but it's great that people order it on Amazon, because that sort of validates that I'm selling books, or that books are selling. I don't know. I try to keep the I'm out of it, but I keep forgetting.
No.
I'm doing the book, an autograph, a personalized copy of the book, a bookmark, and a 30-minute recovery check-in, whether you're an addict or you're not an addict. Just like,
oh, cool.
Talk to somebody that has some time and some experience being on both sides of like loving someone who's addicted and being that person addicted. And so,
well, good thing I'll be able to pull that for Instagram for you too, and we can save
promote that way.
Yeah, we can promote for sure. And
especially during the holidays.
At least I can leave a 5-star review as a verified customer, because that's always nice to read. Like when I go to Amazon, and I see, verified customer, and I can at least help in that aspect, since I didn't go through your website, but I did go through Amazon.
No, and it is a big deal.
Well, thank you for listening to Sober Bandit. Thank you for joining us, Paul.
Thank you so much.
Paul Summers Jr. If you're looking it up again, just go to the show notes, press the link. It's much easier. I make it very easy. Or at least not for Colin, but for everyone else. I try to make life a little easier.